today's episode, we have a very special guest with a very special skill set. He's one of the best artists on TikTok. It's no other than Brandon's art. On a side note, if this show goes off with no glitches, I will retire right here, right now. With no further delays, you are watching the TP show?
I hope that we go off with no glitches. I want her to retire.
Me too.
That's all I have to say.
But then who's going to take over for that?
That's a great question. So, without further ado, let's get Brandon out of the green room so he can fill in on the shenanigans. There you go. Hey, Brandon, how are you, man?
What's up, dude?
Hop into some questions for Brandon while I try to figure out how not to screw the show up so I don't get yelled at by Rosie.
Well, I mean, she'll retire, so
That's
should
true.
probably screw up one thing. Yeah, one thing.
Well, I kind of want her to retire, I'll be honest, but that's just me. Anyway.
Brandon, speaking of Meemaw, have you ever drawn Meemaw?
Yeah, it's a great question.
I have not. I have not drawn her.
Oh. So do you actually remember everybody that you've drawn, or do you have like a big list?
Content.
Oh.
Wow, we'll have to send you a link to Mima. I think you'll really dig her. She reminds me of everybody's grandma. You know what I mean? That's why.
Yeah, I remember every single person.
That's awesome.
I can barely remember yesterday, so that is impressive.
I don't know what I had for dinner. I just ate it like 20 minutes ago.
I'm having a hard time
just remembering them. Now, do you
everybody?
have a list?
Yeah.
Do you have a list with everybody's name?
I'm having a harder time keeping up with remembering every single person because.
How many people have you done so far? I guess that's another question we should ask. So, you know what? We didn't even say what you do. So, Brandon, you do art on TikTok. So
yes, look, he does that, which is amazing.
And
like,
right
am I here or am I there?
Right.
Am I here or am I? Yeah, I don't know.
And right up there is Professor did TikTok tick for me because he had asked you to do it so many times. He's like, you know what? Skip it. I'll just do it myself. But I don't think that was his fault. I think that your system, the way that you did it was, I love the way your system was. So let me explain real quick. When you're on TikTok and you're on Brandon's page, and this was back in the day. This isn't now. It's changed, and we'll get into that in a second. He would do 2 or 3 different ways of getting yourself in the book. But one of them was a nomination. So you would say, hey, nominate somebody you think that should be in my book. And whoever got the highest amount of nominations would be in the book. And every single time, the professor would be like, Tick should be in there. Tick should be in there. And I greatly appreciated that, by the way. I didn't think that I was a large enough person to be in the book. Because a lot of the people that were in your book at that point were like 20, 30, 50, 100,000
I think
people.
I was at like 2,000 when he drew me.
Right.
So, yeah.
And so can you fill in some more details about the story behind how Professor ended up in the book?
Well, for Professor, I think that was the very first time I posted a video asking the followers to let me know who they want to nominate. And on his particular video, there was 5 people that got nominated on that video. And the professor was one of them. So I decided to just draw all 5 people because that was like one of the first times, and I kind of wanted to like show people, you know, hey, you should have nominated somebody because now everyone on this list is going to be drawn.
Oh, you set a high bar there, though.
And then it up from there. After I drew those 5, the next nominations video had a lot, and now I have a list of I think there's like 400 people that have been nominated once, and then Rich, who's on a list that that's multiple nominations. He's on that list because he's been nominated so many times.
Yeah. I mean, Professor does it every single time.
That list has about 60 people.
Wow,
dude, that's awesome.
But
now, did you go to art school, or like where's your art from? Like, did you draw as a kid? Like, give us some background about that.
I didn't. I've always drawn, and I was handpicked from an art teacher in high school, and he saw that I had a talent, and he pretty much let me do whatever I wanted. But by the time I made it to high school, I already had a certain skill set that nobody else really possessed, at least in my school, and then I pretty much let it go to the wayside after graduation and got into the working field. Played a lot of video games, and didn't really pick it back up until I started TikTok.
That is awesome.
Sweet.
I was going to say, you're a very impressive artist. I've always thought, like, I was like, I wonder where he went to school and stuff like that. But I could tell by, it's funny because you can read people's descriptions and then also you reply back to people. So I could tell by your description and reading the comments and stuff, you had a day job. Like, you clearly were like, dude, I got to work. Like, I love making these TikToks. I love doing the drawing, but I love to pay my bills and eat. So I think I'll be putting this on the side for a little bit. So how do you balance that? Like, what do you do to, like, do you have a schedule? Like, I go to work from this time to this time, and then I get home and I work from this time to this time kind of thing?
Well, for a long time, I would just try to gauge it to where I'm drawing at least 3 to 5 times a week. But really, it would end up if I got home and I had enough hours to start to finish a drawing, because I have a really hard time going halfway. If I can't start it and finish it, I don't want to start it.
Makes sense.
And a lot of artists are different. They can start pick it back up 5 months ago, 5 months later. But I prefer to be able to start to finish. So that's kind of how I would allocate the time.
Yeah, that raises a question. How long does an average picture take? Like, not like, obviously everyone is different, but on average, how long does it take you to do a single drawing?
I can't get one done in under 3 hours without like really rushing through it.
Yeah.
And the more I draw, the more detailed, the more, like, the professor, I know for a fact I would have picked a totally different screen grab from you, just since I've done so many since I've done your portrait. And it would have taken a lot longer too. That's for sure.
So, okay, so it takes 3 hours. How do you actually record it? Because you, okay, for anybody that doesn't watch TikToks, and obviously if you're watching the show, hopefully you do watch TikToks, you get a maximum of 60 seconds. So you're taking 3 hours and compressing it down to 60 seconds. That's why I asked how long it takes, because in my opinion, it's a minute. This dude does it in a minute. That's amazing.
Right.
But how do you act? What's your process? Like, what kind of camera do you have, or how do you use your phone? Like, explain how that process works, because it's 3 hours, so it's got to be on for a bit.
So my phone has right now it has 600 time lapses on it right now, and the storage is getting grim. But it's so much easier to record it on my phone versus a GoPro, because I did a live stream when I was doing Dexter the Wabbit, and it took me 8 hours to draw it because I was on a live stream for the whole drawing. So
wow.
Well, I was on live, and it took me 8 to finish it. So I had 8 hours of footage to cram down in a minute, and that was very difficult. So I've quit using the GoPro. I've only used it once or twice. I get a much better quality from my phone. It's the iPhone 11 Pro Max.
And do you use time-lapse feature? Is that what you're saying? So basically you set up your camera above where you're working, and then you just basically put it on time-lapse?
Yeah, right now I'm pushing 256 gigs on my phone, and it's almost all art.
Wow.
I had to buy a new phone because I know the exact problem. When you start making TikToks, you don't understand how much space they take. And they're not that big, let's be honest. Like, we've all made TikToks. They're not actually that big. Now, your process obviously is different than the professor in mine. We're just literally lip syncing, or I'm doing contact juggling, and professors stealing stuff from Instagram. We're not going to talk about that.
All the time, yes.
But it takes up space. It totally sucks up your entire phone's space. And I literally, my last phone would literally come up with a fatal error. I didn't even know phones got fatal errors. Fatal error, out of memory. Please restart. I don't know if you've ever run into that. I hope you never do. But yeah, now I have a new phone, and hopefully I can back up everything and I won't run out of space. Now,
you sure the fatal error wasn't because you started at OnlyFans and it was like, no, don't start at OnlyFans. Fatal error.
No, I was using an Xbox controller probably. So do you back up stuff into the cloud then? Is that how you're gonna like get around this problem? Because I can see you getting into a kind of an issue now if you're running out of space on your phone.
Not to be deleted, that's for sure. A lot of videos that I won't ever repost, and a lot of times I do end up taking 3 time lapses and putting them together.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of them will just be like a time lapse of the flip through going.
That's cool. I have a question. Let's see. What medium is it? And is it watercolors? And I don't think you use watercolors, right? You actually
I think I know the answer. I think
pencils?
I know that. Boom. That's what I was going to guess. I'm guessing colored pencils. And what are you going with, Professor? You already said colored pencils, so
yeah.
I'll say gouache.
I can go with chalk.
I'll go with gouache.
Yeah, and they're Prismacolor. They're Prismacolor pencils, the really expensive ones.
Yeah.
That's really cool because I know from following you, you did this where you would draw like this, and then you were like, guys, pick colors. And then who's the next person? And then you would just use those colors, which was really awesome. I thought that was something like very special because I was like, wow, I didn't even know. And it just gives like a different dimension to your art.
Agreed. Now, what made you do that? Was it because you had an entire? It's sort of like you have the 64 Crayola pack, and you're like, I don't want to use just black and white. Give me some other colors. Is that what ended up happening? Or?
Yeah, the Prismacolors, they come in a pack of 150, so there's a huge span of color to work from, and I do get burnt out a little bit when I do the same skin tones over and over and over, and it's really fun to experiment with the colors and to see what I can create with just a basic photo.
It's funny
That's cool.
Go ahead.
Okay. So how do people get a hold of you to be a part of your book?
Yes. Oh, okay, so before we go forward, it's changed from what it used
right
to be.
Right now, I've stopped selling any.
Gotcha.
So don't call him now.
Because you sold out, right?
Right. Stop calling.
Right, yeah. I've actually sold 2 books so far. So that's
nice.
128 pages. And before that, I drew 115 people for free. You know, essentially, it was a lot of fun behind it, but it was for free, and there was a lot of hours tied into that. And so it was kind of like building a brand of drawing portraits of people.
Right.
So that
it's amazing.
I was just going to say, I just finished page 17, and so I'm like, 40,
you got like 100. Yeah, you got a
like
bunch
46 behind, and then 46 behind, and then when I probably by the end of the month, I'll start selling book 3.
Now, quick question. How much are you selling the pages for? And I know that I could buy one and I could get Professor, or Professor can buy it and get somebody else. You don't have to buy it for yourself. So I've seen that a lot too, where people will buy it and they'll basically say, hey, I bought this and I'd like you to do so-and-so's image. So the question becomes, how much are they? And obviously you're going to have to wait. You can't get it today. But your next book, how much are you going to make the next book?
I'm going to keep it the same. I think I'm going to offer 2 books when I start the sale of the next sketchbooks. Offer another size up, but I'm going to keep it at $20 a page. And then it's first come, first serve. So if you pay $40, I'll let you know what page is secured and how far I am behind, so you can get an idea of how long it'll be before I get your drawing finished. And that the $20 just pays for the time lapse, an emailed PDF, and then if you want to have it shipped after I've completely finished the book and dismantled it, you know, you can pay shipping.
I have one thing to say. That's crazy cheap. You got to raise your rates. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
everybody's going to be mad at me.
I would totally raise your price. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Like, the only reason I say that is because didn't you sell out the last book in under 24 hours? And how many pages was it? It sold out so quick. And the only reason I'm saying that is, and I think we talked about this, Professor and I have talked about this offline. I can't show my tattoos, but I have some really intricate tattoos. I have spirographs on my leg. And the artist that did that.
Your leg.
on my leg. I do. And I have an Escher print on my leg, oddly enough. But the person that did it, her name is Siri, and she is an amazing tattoo artist. And when she left from one location to go to another location, she was charging like a third of what her new shop was charging. Like, as they would say, the scratchers were charging 3 times more than she was. Scratcher, by the way, is a derogatory term in the tattoo world, just so that you know. So if you're a scratcher, they're not saying nice things about you. And you're not a scratcher. Let me just tell you, you are an amazing artist. And to me, I'm like, just raise the rates a little, dude. Like, I would love to see you doing this as a gig all the time. And I understand the trepidation. You're like, well, if I raise it, then not everybody can afford it. You know what I mean? But what's the reasoning for keeping it at the same rate? Since it sold out so quick. I guess that's what I'm saying. The law of supply and demand, as business people would say.
The one thing I mentioned on Instagram about the difference between something that's cheap and something that is inexpensive or affordable, I get that a lot. Like, it's too cheap, but I look at it like I want the work more than I want the money, and so I know that for a fact I wouldn't have sold as many pages if I would have put them for $30 or $40 a page versus it being $20. I know that it's so much easier for somebody to let go of $20 than it is $30 or $40, and I feel confident that there's no way I would have sold as many as I have and had so many, different correspondence with people. One person sees it and it just takes off. It's really incredible.
I can't fault your business model. I mean, it's genius.
Yeah.
Like, what you're doing, I think is really genius. My only thing is, like I said, I'd love to see you being able to do it all day, every day as a job, but I understand having it. Yeah. I mean, 3 hours an image, if you could do 2 a day instead of 1 every couple of days, I just love seeing the work more than anything else. Now, here's an idea. It's very, like, cutting edge. Yeah. There was a girl that did a drawing a day for 14 years, and she turned those all into NFTs. And so it's the same concept that the $69 million sale by, I forget his name, but he sold an NFT for $69 million. And what it was is he did an image a day for like 13 years. And he took all of the images and made one giant NFT and then sold that. So there's the idea I'm going to give you, is to take all of the drawings that you've done and turn it into a giant NFT. And then the way NFTs work too is that you can get a future commission. So, like, say you sell it to me for $5, which is ridiculously low. You wouldn't be selling it to me for $5. But then I sold it to Professor for $10,000. You would still get 10% of the sale between me and Professor. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, I wish I could tell you more about NFTs, but like, if you took your drawing book, like you said, drawing book 1, and you made it into an NFT, I'm sure somebody would pay for it. You know what I mean? And again, if I knew how to do it technically, I'd talk to you offline and I'd help you, but I really don't. I just know the buzzwords right now are NFT, artists, making money, and I see you as an artist, and I want you to do well, because you're amazing. Yeah,
I agree.
I've seen a few of those videos talking about NFT.
Yeah,
and it seems incredible.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think it's in a bubble right now. I really do. But at the same time, this is the very first time that digital art could be tagged, and there could be what is called provenance. So basically, in the art world, like, the difference between a Monet and a Monet is the signature and somebody saying it's a real deal thing. So that in the digital world has never existed, meaning I could make a copy of something and send it to somebody and say it's the original, and nobody would know the difference. Now, with this new NFT technology, nope. Every single piece of art has its own, like, digital signature, and you know who owns it, you know who bought it and who they're selling it to and stuff like that. So I think for artists that are able to get on the technology forefront, I think it really helps them out a lot. You know what I mean? Because basically, most artists are just like you. I'm not much different. I don't think I've made less money than I've spent doing contact juggling in my life, period. That's my art form, contact juggling / sphere play / flow of the round. And I've if you look around my room, just in round objects alone, I've spent more than I've made easily, no problems. And so I understand that artist's dilemma. Like, how do you monetize without being like a sellout, or making it, like you said, your affordable art is now nobody can afford it. Who can afford my affordable art? Nobody. So I saw on here that I have a Tyler Art
Not to
School
mention that I did so many. I did so many that I didn't charge for, and I kind of feel like TikTok is what brought me to this. Like it's a skill that I just put, you know, in a trunk somewhere, and it stayed there for years, and I've really been able to explore it more because of the people, and so it's like giving it back to them because they're the ones that motivate me.
No, I absolutely love it, and I commend the fact that you would rather sell a book out in a day than make it so unaffordable that people that could normally get it. And you know what it reminds me of? I'm the oldest one here, but I think maybe have you guys ever waited online to get tickets to a concert? ?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This reminds me of getting concert tickets, because concert tickets were all the same price at one point. Like general admission, $25, and first come first serve, and you could get front row tickets for $25 if you waited 3 days in line in the rain to see, I don't know, New Kids on the Block. Not that I would have ever done that. I didn't. I've
seen New Kids on the Block before. I have when I was young.
I did not. I saw Sean Cassidy.
Oh.
My sisters took me to Sean Cassidy, and that was my very first concert. The first concert I actually went to that I wanted to go to was Judas Priest. So
I've seen Judas Priest as well.
Yeah, and the one band that I waited in line for was Spinal Tap, otherwise known as Spinal Tap.
Yes.
So Brandon, I really appreciate that you do that. Did you ever wait in line for tickets? By the way, like, are you old enough to do that?
Before, but I never would wait in line for tickets. That just wasn't me.
Oh.
So
I did go to a midnight release for an Xbox.
I can appreciate. Yep, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to force you to do this, but could you give us a hint as to what day and time we might want to be ready to send the money to you? Hint. Is there a date and a time that we might want to be doing that?
Well, actually, part of the way it's able to sell out so quickly is I'm like making a list of everybody that is interested in a page in the next book, and then they all get a group message when it's time to start selling. So the bulk of the first pages of the book get sold fairly quickly.
I need to be on that list. Put me on that list.
I can add you to that list. That's not a problem.
Yes. I'm going to get one now, Professor. You can't stop me, man.
And
stop me.
Another point, too, about the $20. There's a lot of people that will never have like a really high quality portrait done.
Look at that thing
for $20.
Holy crap!
By an artist. So
put that up, Bob Ross. Put that up. Love your shirt, by the way.
I take that a lot too.
Yeah, I only saw it for a split second. So show us up again.
Mr. Poorbucks.
Holy
man,
crap.
That's amazing. I like I said, I appreciate the skill and the time.
Stack of ones that it didn't ship.
Dude, that's insane. So
I appreciate it a lot, guys.